All right, so I want to talk about brotherly love, but first, I want to start all the way over here with the world, how they treat each other, and then come all the way over to where we're supposed to treat each other. So, what's the number one thing that don't belong in the church? Well, yeah, that's true. But if you had to take a guess on something specific, what would you think the number one thing is that shouldn't be in here that causes division, even out there? Okay, okay. Some good answers. The one I'm looking for is politics. Because if there's anything that's connected to all the evil in the world, all the bad that's going on, it's politics. And, every time we have an election, preachers on, you got your main two sides, Democrats and Republicans, but it's more than that, but I get that they the main two. But you have all these congregations, all these preachers want to say, oh, it's the end of the world because the Democrat won. Oh, it's the end of the world because the Republican won. And the rest of us know, don't nothing really change. They both going to the same spot, which is just, complete control of everybody, a type of, arresting you for what you're thinking type of stuff, which is probably going to be happening in the future. But, that causes probably more divisions than any other topic you can bring up while you at church. That's the number one thing. Even if you're preaching somewhere where it's all Democrats, y'all gonna disagree about something eventually. If it's all Republicans, y'all gonna disagree about something eventually. You can't get the world to understand that just because you go vote, you a Christian first. So if you go vote for somebody and they not doing what you agree with, you need to say you don't agree with that. You don't need to just change your, try to put that above being a Christian, and now you going along with what they say, and you're like, oh, well, it's all right if you do it, they going to do it anyway, all this stuff. When they start making laws that go against what we stand for and what we know Jesus would want, we try to make all these excuses instead of just saying, no, I don't agree with that, it's wrong. Simple answer. But I'm not up here to talk about that, but I do want to show the contrast. I think it's a good contrast to show here. So, contrary to what the news would have us believe, all of these political problems in the world, just right here in the U.S., we got all kinds. And each one has more than just this way or that way to fix it. They want us focused on that either this way or that way when there's probably 20 other ways to fix a problem. All of us that are trying to be Christians with an open mind, we can see that. We're not blind to that. But, we'll sit up here and we'll fight and argue with each other, even in the church, about fixing it this way or that way. And I'm just confused on why you would even want to bring something like that in the church. We got enough, you turn the news on, it's politics. You go to work, it's politics. You go to the store, people talking about politics. Last place I want to hear is in church. I'm in here trying to hear what Jesus has to say. I'm not trying, we're higher than that because we're God's family. I'm not trying to go down to a classification lower than that. Why would I want to do that, to go down into all these worldly divisions that we have instead of staying at the highest level, which is, a member of God's family, a Christian. So, when you think about the world, you think about how divided it is, it's basically maximum division in the world. And what I think we need to be sure that we're not doing is bringing that into the church. So let me name off a few here, and y'all can, you can name some that I missed, if I miss anything. These people out here, they divided by race, they divided by gender, nationality, height, weight, age, social status, religion, politics, which side they support, the type of hobbies you like, the sports teams you like, and I'm sure I'm missing something. Y'all think anything else? I mean, that's just about everything. Any type of hate, division, any of that you can think of, it exists in the world. And you can find a reason to hate somebody just by looking at them. What color are they? They tall, they short, they rich, they poor. That is easy. Finding reasons to love people is what we're called to do. So we shouldn't be following the world, just hating people for no reason. And you'll hear it in the church. You'll hear people, they make a comment, look at them, they got that new car, they think they special, or they got this new house, this or that, whatever it is. And I don't know if it's jealousy or what. But you start letting that creep in, before you know it, you'll be like them out there. You done been baptized, and now you're acting like people in the world. What kind of sense does that make? But I think a lot of times we're not honest with ourselves, to the point to realize, hey, there's a problem creeping up within me, in my mind, in my personality, and to shut it down before it becomes something. Instead, we'll just argue that we right and everybody else is wrong. Whatever it is, whatever the problem is, that's the path that we normally take. Let's see. So all of this stuff that I said, all these different divisions in the world, they will fight about that until they're dead. And like anything that they can fight about in the world, they're going to fight about it. And we're supposed to be the opposite. Instead of fighting about everything, we should be agreeing on everything. And, anytime you're bringing in any of that stuff, even something as small as sports teams, somebody joke with their brother or sister about, being a Tennessee fan or Alabama fan or whatever. I don't think there's necessarily nothing wrong with that, but I think you got to be careful because, just using that as an example, if your team was to keep winning over and over and over, and you just keep rubbing in this person's face over and over and over, eventually it's going to build up into something, is what I'm saying. We need to be aware of that type of stuff. Being able to have, I guess you would say, the foresight. So, has anybody in here ever got mad at somebody in the church or even outside the church? I know you have, but I'm going to ask a question anyway just to make you think. So, you get mad at somebody, and then, maybe a few weeks go by, months, years, and you say, you know what? That wasn't even that big of a deal. Why was I even mad about that? And so now you see that it wasn't worth arguing about. Why can't we see that before the argument starts? Why can't we see when it's building up, like, hey, this ain't something to argue about. Let me take a step back here, or let me calm down, or let me go apologize to the person, or let me try to reason with the person, or something like that. We need to pray for that kind of stuff because you're not born with that. That's something you learn. That's something you learn after messing up over and over and over and over. You say, you know what? I'm tired of messing up over and over and over. Or in my situation, I hate apologizing to people. So I'll bite my tongue off before I have to go apologize to somebody. I'll definitely not say whatever it is that I want to say because I've done that too many times. I took it too far. Now you got to go apologize. Problem is, you can't undo the hurt that you did when you said what you said. So the person's still thinking about it, whatever it is you said. Maybe it's something you said about the way they look. Now every time they look in the mirror, they see it because they hadn't noticed it before. You can't undo that. And you got to realize it's just not worth that at a certain point. Whether it's in my situation that I don't like apologizing, that's not the Christian reason that I shouldn't be saying that. The Christian reason I shouldn't be saying it is because Jesus don't want me saying it. So, I'm at the not wanting to apologize, but I still got work to do to get to where I'm not doing it because that's not what Jesus wants. Think about when you get real mad at somebody, what keeps you from going and murdering that person? Is it because God said don't murder? Or is it because you don't want to sit in that little jail cell for the rest of your life? It's probably the second one that really keeps you from doing it, because if there wasn't no consequences, we'd probably be out here just killing each other instead of doing it for the correct reason, which is because God said he doesn't want that. If we're going to call him Lord, we got to do what he says. So let's flip over to 1 Corinthians 1:10. Let's see here. Okay, I got it. It reads, "Now I plead with you, brethren, by the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, that you all speak the same things, and that there be no divisions among you, but that you be perfectly joined together in the same mind and in the same judgment." So that's basically what I was saying. This is kind of talking about something different, because it goes on to say, these people were saying, I'm of Paul, I'm of Apollos, I'm of Cephas, I'm of Christ. So it's saying that they was having different leaders or different heads that they was trying to say they was under. But what I'm saying is the stuff that we argue about is a level below that. So it still applies to that we should be getting along, because there's only one Bible, there's only one God, there's only one set of instructions that we're supposed to be reading. So when we read that, we should realize how we should be acting. And at that point, we should all be on the same page. I think the problem is we don't read the Bible enough to know what it says. So we don't know, how Jesus wants us to act, what righteousness even is, how to, correctly judge and that type of stuff like that. I think we just forget that we're connected at the highest possible level. I think that's the root of the problem. So, if you're going to take something away from this, that's the main thing I want you to take away is you are a member of God's family that's higher than any nationality, any race, any gender, any sports team, fan club, or whatever you want to call it, anybody you worked with. Because, we all got different groups to where we close with them people. It might be people that like the same sports you like the same hobbies you like, and we're really close to them people. And we'll be closer with them than in here. That's the point I'm trying to make. If you can be that close with them, you got to realize you're supposed to be at least that close in here. You can't just not like people. How you not going to like people? that God has accepted, that God has brought into the church. Now, I know, people going to say, oh, well, they not going to make it or they not living right. That's not our place to judge, because what are you going to do if you get to heaven and they standing there? They made it in. Now what's going to happen? Both of y'all going to have to get kicked out because you can't get along? Like what? You might as well get it together here, get on the same page here, apologize here to make sure you make it in there. There's nothing that should be coming in between us as brothers and sisters. And I think the problem is we don't actually view each other as brothers and sisters. That's the problem. We just look at it like, almost like coworkers. That's how we look at each other. That's a good one right there. We look at each other like coworkers instead of brothers and sisters. Because if I got somebody my job I don't like, it don't matter. It don't matter. I just avoid them or ignore them or I go on. You can't do that in here. That's not the type of mindset you can have in the church. This is a family. Even higher than your blood family. And that's hard to comprehend at first because everybody ain't your blood family. So, you don't know their history. You don't know their temperament. You don't know what they've been through. To compare it to your blood family, you know everything about them. But, we have to see it the right way. Until we can get our mindset correct, we sat back there and we come up with all these new ideas that we wanted to do I don't even remember what it was for, bring people to church. It's just not going to work if we don't get our mindset right. I hate to say that, but it's the truth. Until we get our mindset right and we view people as family, as brothers and sisters, care about them genuinely like brothers and sisters, it's not going to work. Because you have a visitor come in here, they get baptized, they not feeling the love, they not feeling welcome. Maybe somebody knows them outside the church looking at them weird, like why they in here. Maybe they got baptized and somebody think they not good enough or something like that. It only take one person. I think that's what we forget. It only take one person to run somebody out here. It don't take all of us. All of us can go be nice to the person. If one person is being mean to them, probably out of here. And that's something I brought up to Brother Davis the other day. He was talking about the collection. I said, I wonder what the collection would be if all the people we ran off was in here. then what would the collection be? How many of these seats would still be full if we wasn't running people off and not caring that they got ran off? Like, a lot of times it's not you. I get it, because most of them it ain't been me. But, I got to say, I didn't go try to help bring the person back. So I'm probably just as guilty at that point, just like all the rest of us if we didn't try to do something. But it's a collective effort. We all have to be on the same page. So I don't know if we need to have some sort of series on brotherly love, how we should be treating each other. It's just, once you see it, you got it. But it's getting people to see it that's the problem, because they just don't look at the body of Christ and the church correctly. They look at it like it's some organization in the world that you just go join, and if you ain't happy, you just leave and you go to a different congregation. Is the same problem going to be over there or something worse? I'll tell you that right now. Either the same problem or something worse is going to be going on over there, and you're just going to be on this endless running from church to church to church, congregation to congregation, because you can't figure out, hey, I got to do my part in this situation. If somebody offend me, I got to tell them. I can't just take off running. You got to be willing to work. You got to be willing to develop the right mindset. You got to be willing to pray and ask for help, with your mindset. And I think we can do more than we can by ourselves, because you can't do nothing without God and Jesus' help. I don't care what even coming here tonight, you couldn't have done that yourself. If God didn't give you that zeal, that desire, as cold as it is out there, if he didn't give you that, desire to want to be here, that little nudge to where now you got to take the step to get here, because, he's going to help us, but we still got to do our part. So part of that, I'm sure, was our part where we actually had to do it. I wasn't feeling good a few minutes ago, feel fine right now, but I wasn't feeling good like 30 minutes before coming here. I was like, man, do I even want to go or what? But I know it happens to all of us. Like, the devil ain't going to let you get away with that. He's going to send some type of temptation. But, like I'm saying here, I done got off track, but how much did you read or study the Bible this past week? You ain't got to say it out loud, just think about it. I got a bad habit right now forgetting to do my reading on Saturday, because I'm doing everything else because I ain't got to work. So it gets me out of my rhythm. Now, all the rest of y'all, I don't know. But however much you studied, how much did you eat this week? How much did you work out? How much time you spend watching TV? Stuff like that. How much time did you spend on the phone? And this is more important than any of that. I don't care what you're doing. So I recommend everybody, if you can get the Bible to read to you some kind of way, that's the way to go. Because you can knock out just a 1 hour commute. I can knock out Genesis to Revelation in a month and a half on a 1 hour commute. If I listen to it there and back, month and a half, done with it. Starting over again. But as many times as I've read it, or I guess you say listen to it, I just don't think you can ever stop. I don't think you can ever get to the point to where it's like, yeah, I know the whole Bible, because stuff is constantly falling out of your brain that you done forgot about or wasn't paying attention because you knew it or thought you knew it, and stuff constantly falling out and you constantly putting stuff in. I just don't think you can ever get to the point where you can stop reading it. We'd have to ask some people older than I am spiritually to see what they think about that. But I'm convinced that myself, with the number of times I've read it, because I ain't trying to brag or nothing, but I'm pretty sure I'm around 60, 65 times, somewhere in there. And it's just, the more I read it, the more I realize I don't know. And every time I come through it, I start seeing different stuff that's connected that I never realized was connected in the Old or New, or just within the New Testament. But let's flip over to 1 John 4:20. I should have put it on the board. Sorry about that. But it reads, if someone says, I love God, and hates his brother, he is a liar. For he who does not love his brother whom he has seen, how can he love God whom he has not seen? And this commandment we have from him, that he who loves God must love his brother also. It's pretty self-explanatory. I mean, you can think right now, is there anybody in this congregation you don't like? Is there anybody in this congregation that gets on your nerves? Is there anybody that offends you? Is there anybody... Y'all know what I'm trying to say. Yeah. Any of them people. If they're not at this congregation, or is there anybody at any of these sister congregations that get on your nerve, that you think ain't gonna make it, or that you don't like, or that offends you, or that talk too much, or that look at you the wrong way, or try to boss you around? Just think about these people now. You got to view them as a brother or a sister. That, like, I can't even explain here's a way to explain it. How many people in here have a sibling? Raise your hand if you got a brother or a sister. So it's everybody. Okay, that's good. It looks like it's pretty much everybody. So keep your hand raised if you got a sibling. And the next question is there anything that your sibling can do to make you never talk to them again? Do y'all think it is or it ain't?
See, the difference is, like my church, and I'm glad I look at all of y'all my family.
Right.
I love y'all dearly. Now, I might not like some of the stuff that they do.
Right.
But that don't mean I don't love you.
Right.
It's like my family, they do a lot of stuff that I don't like, but I still love them. So that's what people get mixed up. And it is a difference. You know, you love them, but that doesn't mean you like or want to tolerate some of the stuff they do.
Right. And if you think about it, that's what you said is true. So there is stuff that they can do that's going to get on your bad side. But usually, if your brother or sister come apologize and they sincere, we usually forgive them. Yeah. Now, we can't say the same thing about everybody else, I don't think. Somebody else out here that ain't a family member, blood family or spiritual family, if they out here treating us wrong way, you know, it's easy to cut them off, be done with them. But
I still put them in my prayer list.
Right. But I think the problem is a lot of people don't view the people in here like they brother and sister. So let's say me and my brother or me and my sister have fallen out. They do something crazy. You know, if they come, apologize or whatever, I'm probably going to forgive them. Probably everybody in here. Now, somebody in here do something crazy and they come apologize, there's people that won't forgive you. In the church, in this congregation, in other congregations, that just won't let it go. Or they tell you they forgive you, and then they don't in their heart. And you can just tell every time you interact with them, something's off. Yeah. Like, we got all kind of stuff like that going on. But if we're going to treat everybody like our brother and sister, you're not going to have a problem. You're just not. You're not going to have a serious problem in the church because there's nothing anybody can really do that's that bad to you compared to out in the world. They do all kinds of stuff out in the world, but in here, what? They judged you? They looked at you weird? They got smart with you? What's that? That's nothing. That happened at our house all the time. Who had a mama that didn't slap her? You didn't slap her back. You didn't slap your mama back. So, you know, when we get baptized, we got all these new moms, all these new dads, aunts, uncles, grandparents, spiritual family is what I'm saying. If one of them was to slap you, probably slap them back. But why can't we show, you know, the same type of love that we have with our blood family, same type of patience we have with our blood family? If we could get that through our heads, I think we'd be doing a whole lot better. So, how are we going to make it in if we can't love our brothers and sisters? We ain't. That's the short answer. That's the ending of that. Also, you know, I think another problem we got right now that we're going to have to address with all these ideas that we were coming up with to try to have, add people to the church. Next problem we're going to have is this congregation has been so small for so long that if we have an influx of people, there's going to be people annoyed by that. People who are going to say, oh, I liked it better when it was smaller, But that's not somebody my age's viewpoint. My age and under, or my age and slightly older, we looking at it like, hey, if everybody start dying, ain't nobody going to be left. Going to have to shut the doors. And whose fault is that going to be? It's going to be every single one of us. Can't none of us try to blame somebody else for that and say, oh, it's their fault. It's not going to work with God. But let's see, what was the other one I had? So I'll just end with this. I've been here 20 years spiritually, and I have seen all kind of stuff. Most of the anger and problems in them business meetings back there. You have all the men here said they didn't want to be an elder, but as soon as we get in the men's meeting, they want to be an elder, want to run the church, want to try to bully people around. And I'm not going to stand for that, so I'm going to say something. But, two biggest places we have problems, men's business meeting and when the ladies are in the kitchen. So I don't know what be going on in there. I ain't going in there, but seems like pretty hostile in there sometimes. And, us men, we got to treat each other with respect, treat each other like our brother. Ladies, got to treat everybody like your sister. It's not that hard to have courtesy towards somebody, to say something in a nice way, not getting smart with people, stuff like that. Because you don't know what people are dealing with. I know we're in the church and everybody, is supposed to be happy, supposed to be, we worshiping God, but you don't know what a person's dealing with. They might be coming here because this is the last resort. Like this is the, maybe they wasn't a Christian and they say, you know what, it's so bad right now, I'm going to give it a shot. And then we just run them away from being rude and stuff like that. How's that going to go over on Judgment Day? But the point I wanted to make, and I've said this on Wednesday, we are at the highest level. All of us are joined at the highest level possible in the history of everything. Not just the world, but the history of everything. We are part of God's family. And if we can't respect each other for making that same confession and repenting, getting baptized, getting added to the family, if God accepts the person, why can't we accept it? We wouldn't want somebody acting like that towards us. Maybe somebody did. Maybe you know what it feels like. So if you know what it feels like, don't put that on somebody else that's trying to come in here. But we're connected at the highest level, and we don't need to be arguing about all this worldly stuff, letting all this stuff come in between us. If we really going to be brothers and sisters in Christ, there is nothing that should be able to come between us. The only way something come in between us is if we let it. So whoever is letting it is probably the one in the wrong. Somebody offends you, ask them if they meant that way, or did they mean it another way. There's ways to talk to people. You have to talk to people. You can't assume stuff. You can't think everybody's against you and all that. Like, you have to know that coincidences, they do happen. And like the devil, he's gonna want to do that type of stuff to get us, out of the mindset that we should be in. So if we can remember we're joined at the highest level, remember that we're brothers and sisters, and treat each other like brothers and sisters, I think we'll get to where we're trying to get. And at this point, I think everybody's a member here, so unless somebody needs to repent, or, well, if you need to be baptized again, we can get you in there. But at this time, you can do that while we stand and sing the invitation song.